Hello student, let us move towards the next topic, and that is what numerical integration. So up to this we have seen derivation. Okay, now I am going to start with numerical integration. So let us see the first topic in this, that is what trapezoidal rule. So here initially I am going to discuss the trapezoidal rule. So let us start with the method of trapezoidal rule. You just observe here. Now I am going to consider y is equal to fx, which is a function having the interval of x0 and xn. So these are the limits. It is equally spaced values of arguments. So I am going to do one argument here, and the values are like this: x0. Then the next value is x1, which can be expanded like this: x0 plus h. Next one is x2, that is nothing but x0 plus twice h, up to xn is equal to x0 plus nh. Now we have to find corresponding values of y which correspond to these values. So y0 is equal to function of x0, y1 is equal to function of x1, y2 is equal to function of x2, similarly y is a function of xn. So using trapezoidal rule we can find the value of integration like this. So the integration of y with the limit x0 to xn dx can be defined as h by 2 in bracket y0 plus yn into 2 into y1 plus y2 up to yn minus 1. So this is known as trapezoidal rule. You are familiar with this? Okay, in last year you have this. Okay, so my basic aim is what? I am going to solve the integration by using a computer technology, by using a program which is right by using a C language, and to find out the solution of your function by using a computer itself. So let us move towards the next topic of trapezoidal rule. So the next topic is what? Algorithm for integration. So let us see algorithm for a tabulated function using trapezoidal rule. So very first step is what? Read x1 and x2, where x1 is the lower limit and x2 is the upper limit. So these are the limit used for the integration. x1 is lower one and x2 is a higher one. In step 2, read y is equal to fx. This is a given function. Okay. Now by using the limits we are going to calculate this function as f of x1 and f of x2. So f of x1 is with lower limit and this is for higher limit. You have to calculate that. In step 3, read n. N is what? Number of steps for integration. Okay. So these are number of steps. That is what? Small n. In step 4, we have to calculate value of h. For that we are going to use the formula h is equal to x2 minus x1. That is what? We have to subtract lower limit from the higher limit and we have to divide it by number of steps in integration. Okay, in step 5, let us assume sum is equal to 0. Step 6, I is equal to 1. I is what? Loop index. Okay. So you know that in the previous method we calculate the value like this: x1 is equal to x0 plus h, x2 is equal to x0 plus 2h. In this we calculate the value like this: x0, x1, x2. So this is what I. Okay, this is what I. So in step 7 I am going to generalize x is equal to x1 plus I into h. I just told you this. Okay. Step 8, sum is equal to sum plus fx. Now I am going to calculate the sum. Initially sum is equal to 0. In that sum I am going to add the function which is a given. Now in step 9, I is equal to I plus 1. That means we have to increase the value of I. Initially it is 1, so x1 plus h. When we increase the value of I, it becomes x1 plus 2h up to x2 plus 3h up to the steps that are integration steps. Okay. Okay, we are going to do this up to the steps that involve in integration. Okay. Now step 10 is what? We have to check the condition if I is less than n, then go to step 7. If the number of steps is greater than I, we have to repeat these steps, that is 7, 8, 9 up to the 10. If the value is not, that means it satisfies the condition, if both values are equal, then we have to come out of the loop and we have to perform the step 11, and that is what sum is equal to what, 2 into sum, is it? In step 10 we have to calculate the integration, that is what, f of x1 plus f of x2 plus sum by into h by 2. So once you calculate the integration, you have to print that integration, and here we have the end of our program. This is what algorithm. Now in next step I am going to explain you the flow chart. What is mean by flow chart? Flow chart is a diagrammatical presentation, graphical presentation of algorithm. So the very first step is what, start. Here we are going to take the inputs, okay. Hence what are the inputs? The lower limit and the higher limit of integration and the function itself. So you have to read lower limit x1, lower limit x2 and function fx. Then you have to read the number of iterations, that means what, number of steps, okay, that is what, small n, is it? So now you have higher limit and lower limit of integration, you know the number of iterations, then you can calculate h is equal to x2 minus x1 divided by n, okay. Now as I told in algorithm, we have to assume sum is equal to 0. Now initially I is equal to 1, then you calculate x as x1 plus I into h, okay. Now sum is equal to sum plus fx, okay. That means you define the sum here 0, you define fx here, you are going to summarize the sum. Now increase the value of I, okay. This value will be increased. After increasing this value, you have to check that I is less than to n or not. If it is not, then move towards. If it is yes, then move to the previous step, is it? If condition is yes, then you have to move here. If condition is no, then you have to move to the next step. What is the next step? Sum is equal to 2 into sum, and the final step is what, you have to take the integration of f of x1 plus f of x2 plus sum into h by 2. Once you obtain this integration, you have to print that value, and after getting that value on your screen, you have to stop. This is what algorithm. Now let us move towards the program of the previous discussed flowchart and algorithm. So this is the very first step, that is title of your program, to find the value of integration using trapezoidal rule, is it? Now these are the library files that you have to include. I already told you what is that values, okay, that library files, x files will be included there. Next, define. You have to define the function fx is equal to what, 1 minus x square, square root of x square minus 1. This is your function, is it? It is defined here. This is your main branch of program. In this main branch, what you required, value of x0, xn, h, okay, these are the float points. x1 is equal to 0, x2 is equal to 0, I and x, these values are defined here. Integer values I and n, is it? This must be integer, cleared from the higher limit. So printf, this is the statement which is used to display the message on your screen, and the message is like this: enter the value of x0. So user can be enter the value of x0, that can be taken in by using the scanf function. You are familiar with this function, so accordingly the value of x0, xn can be taken, okay. Now let us see here. The value of h can be calculated by subtracting the lower limit of integration from the upper limit divided by number of steps of integration, okay. This is what sum1 can be defined as, here sum1 is 0. So the function f of x0 and f of x1, both by putting the both limits, the function can be calculated and they can be added, and They are assigned to S1. Now the condition is check. What is that? I is less than to n. Every time I is incremented by 1 and it is checked that it is less than or not. If the value is less than, then the previous steps will be executed. If the value is not, then the next statement of this program can be executed. What is that? X is equal to x0 plus I into h. Again s2 is equal to s3 plus fx. The function here you obtain can be integrated. Okay, what is that? I is equal to h by 2 into s1 plus 2 into s2. So once you obtain the integration, the value can be printed by using the instruction printf. So this value can be printed on your display. Okay, and in this way the trapezoidal rule can be computed by using the computer C language. So it is very easier to calculate the value with the help of trapezoidal rule. Okay, so let us stop now.